YouTube, this is Beryl Ann. Welcome back to my channel. In this video, I'm going to talk about the benefits of getting into vintage culture for Black women. Now, as for Black women, getting into vintage, of course, you'll learn more about the vintage times as well as history. And also, getting into vintage will help you embrace being unique. Okay, so a lot of the times I come across some people who give me remarks, say the vintage times had racism and discrimination, and why am I interested in it? Why is that my passion? A lot of people focus, especially Black people, tend to focus on we still had our music, our style and things like that. We still had our culture. And unfortunately, it was just during the times of where the system of oppression was expanding. Besides learning more about vintage hairstyling and fashion and cars and things like that, you will learn more actually about the details of history. I mean, you'll learn more about the timelines and events and moments that happened in history that are way more important. And much of the times when we learn about the vintage times with our history, we tend, in the American school system, we tend to learn more about Martin Luther King Jr. We tend to learn more about Rosa Parks, which those are all great figures in our history, but our history just didn't start with slavery and the civil rights movement and Jim Crow and segregation. We have thousands of years worth of history. And so getting into the vintage culture and becoming a vintage enthusiast, if that's your passion, don't let that part of history get in the way of getting involved in this passion or in this community. Number two, you will embrace being unique. Now, getting into vintage, it's very, very unique. Back then, stuff was made only once. Things were hard to find. Basically, it will allow you to be different. And in the Black community, we tend to embrace our stereotypes. It's time to break that chain. So I think being different will allow you to have a different perspective of someone else's background and meeting different people and new people. So it will help you embrace being unique. You can have your own style, one of a kind. You will feel like one of a kind with doing vintage, because stuff back then was it was more appreciative back then. Stuff wasn't convenient like today. So it will help you just embrace your individuality. Number three, if you're older, it would help with your nostalgia. So if you're missing the good old days and you just love hearing stories from your grandparents or great aunts and uncles and hearing stories about what happened during those times, it will help you just get into that feeling of missing the good old days and how it's so much different today. Number four, now this is a fun one. So Black women, we all know that our hairstyles and fashion is very unique. The hairstyles in the vintage times from the 40s, the 30s, the 50s, it was very, very unique. It was very stylish. And we all know that our hair type can handle practically any style. There's so many unique hairstyles to create from the vintage times. So you can basically create your own fashion statement by going vintage. Last but not least, number five, it will help you keep it classy. Now, I know in the Black community, we have this huge stereotype, especially in the media, that most Black women are, well, most, not all, but most are ratchet or ghetto or just not, don't know how to behave. And vintage will help you learn how to be more put together. For those of you who are not familiar with this, you know, back then it was more classy, it was more traditional, regardless of black or white or whichever ethnicity or nationality. It was just the culture within America. The mannerisms were different back then. It's just the media portrays us in a very negative way. I'm very aware of that. But if we start adapting to more vintage inspired or vintage elements, it will help us appear more traditional, more well put together. And I think this could possibly, if anything, it could possibly help break that stereotype, because Black women are very majestic. We're not ratchet. We're not all ghetto. And it breaks my heart when people come to that conclusion when they meet a Black woman. You know, we're the original beauty, we're the original woman. So it's time to really start embracing that and really start being unique like we're supposed to. Alright, so that's all I had to say in this video. I hope this information was helpful. And if you have any questions or any concerns or any comments about getting involved in vintage or pinup modeling, go ahead and leave a comment or message me. Leave a comment below and I'll be sure to respond. I love reading all of your comments. And be sure to subscribe for more videos like this. Until next time, bye.